because I like having clean hair. Hey guys, welcome. My name is Demi Grace. I am a singer, model, creative producer. I do all the things basically. And I started this podcast, the I'm Okay podcast, to talk through and talk out how I navigate the world and my life in general. You know, there's a lot to process sometimes, and I would consider myself a private person. Especially now. I think I used to share a lot before, but nowadays I like to go through things with my close friends and family. I really wanted to share this information with you because it could help you as well. So, story time. This past, I want to say couple of weeks, maybe about a month, I was in a funk, and it was a really funky funk. I was having a really hard time pulling myself out of it. A lot of the times when I get into a funk, my brain goes into buffer mode. I start looking for the best solution. All of our brains do that. Our brains are problem-solving machines, and when we go through things, first thing your mind does is it searches for a solution, which can be a great thing or it can be a bad thing, because if your brain is searching for solutions, it can go into overdrive if it doesn't find one right away. So it's important to stay in control of your mind. And one way I do that is either with affirmations, with meditation, or with mantras. And one of the mantras I'm going to share with you today in getting out of a funk is to assume. Assume your way out of the funk. When I say assume, I definitely am referring to the law of assumption. If you don't know what the law of assumption is, the law of assumption is basically a law that states that you experience what you believe about yourself and the world around you. This is true in many religions, and it's definitely, I believe in it. But that is not actually what I'm talking about. When I say assume, I mean A-S-U-M-E. I'm going to get into what I mean by assume your way out of it in a moment. But if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, like this video. By doing so, you are letting the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoy my content. It really does help me as a creator, and it supports me on the platform. I thank you in advance for subscribing, for liking the video, and commenting any thoughts you may have. So back to assume. How can you assume your way out of a funk? Well, let's break down the acronym, right? So ASUME stands for A, argue with your limitation. S, stop taking yourself so seriously. U, use your imagination for good. M, I don't know why I always forget this one, microdose gratitude. And E, every stress factor is man-made. So let's go in depth with it. A, argue with your limitation. This one was really big for me because I grew up as a student athlete. One of the ways that my favorite coach pushed me and my peers was to tell us that we couldn't do something. So I kind of got into the habit of telling myself that I couldn't do something to motivate myself. But we all change and evolve as we grow, and that stopped working after a while. And then I just kind of got into a cycle of telling myself that I couldn't do certain things. Telling yourself that you can't do certain things, whether that's reach a... Why is this in the back? Sorry, y'all. Okay, that's gone. Anyway, telling yourself that you can't do certain things, or that you can't think certain things, or that you can't reach certain goals is a limitation. And when you think about your limitations, they really can start to chip away at your emotional state and cause you to slip into a funk or into a depression. I just want a quick disclaimer. This is not a replacement for mental health support by a trained professional. This is for your eyes and ears only, and to support you in your journey. So anyway, arguing with your limitation was key for me because we'll wait till he's done. You done, Scotty? Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop. Okay, I had to let him get his life. So arguing with my limitation was key because it stops the negative thought in its tracks, for me at least. Let's say I am telling myself, oh, they'll never approve that. That's the limitation right there, is me assuming what somebody else is gonna do or what somebody else is gonna think or how something is gonna play out, when I could be telling myself, oh my God, they probably loved that presentation. Yeah, they probably loved it. You know, just arguing with that initial negative thought is arguing with your limitation. And the next one is to stop taking yourself so seriously. Yes, that's what the S stands for, is to stop taking yourself so seriously. You know, life is supposed to be fun. Life is supposed to be enjoyed. Life is for the living. I know you've all heard that phrase. If you haven't heard that phrase, I'm telling you now, life is for the living. When you stop taking yourself so seriously, you put yourself in the position to enjoy your life and to have a little bit of fun. Even if it's not tons of fun, you at least are starting to have a little bit of fun, and that can really change your emotional state. The next letter in the acronym ASSUME is U, and that is to use your imagination for good. I talked earlier about how your imagination and your mind can be your greatest asset, or it can be your worst enemy. And that's all up to you. It depends on what you're doing with your mind, what you're feeding your mind, what you're falling asleep to, what you're waking up with, what you think about when you think nobody's watching, what you say to yourself when you think it's a joke. Those are all things that feed your subconscious mind. It's something that is so subtle, and it is something that can be trained and retrained and built and rebuilt. You know, as long as we're alive, we're evolving. So it's really important to understand how and why and when to use your imagination for good. And when you're in a funk, it's extra important that you take the time to examine your thoughts and ask yourself, is this imagination good or bad? And that sounds really basic, but it really is that simple. Because when you start asking yourself, okay, is this imagination good or bad? You start to kind of, I don't want to say police your thoughts, because no one likes to be policed, but police your thoughts. I don't know how to tell you. Police your thoughts. Give yourself permission to have a healthy mental diet. And the M in assume your way out of a funk is to microdose gratitude. And this was really key for me. I struggled with gratitude sometimes, not because I wasn't grateful, but because I feel like the commercialized spiritual version of gratitude can just be too big for me sometimes. Like sometimes it comes off like toxic positivity, or sometimes it comes off as just too big of a concept. And so me telling myself to microdose gratitude is a really humid in New York, and my curls are just falling. I'm gonna bring Scotty in this video. I think he just wanted to be in the video. Me microdosing gratitude was just a reminder to be grateful for the smallest things. I started saying to myself, well, at least blank. If I was ever in a funk, or I was ever having a funky day, or just kind of like letting something get me down for more than 10 minutes, I would basically start telling myself with every single situation, at least this blank. Let's say I was late to work. I would say, well, at least my driver was nice, or at least I have a job. At least I got to work. At least everybody's being so nice about it. At least I ate today. At least I fill in the blank. It's so funny because I remember sharing that at least I method with somebody, and they actually talked me out of it. And I don't even know why I let them talk me out of it. I'm a super impressionable girl. I let them talk me out of it, and it is something that worked for me. So I really should have just kept doing it. It is definitely a way to be grateful. My hair is just covering you, I'm sorry. It's definitely a way to be grateful for the smaller things. So that is the M in assume your way out of a funk. It is microdose gratitude. The very last letter, E, is remembering that every stress factor is man-made. The true miracle of life is breathing. That's it. That is what you came into this earth with. That's the last thing you will leave behind. That's the miracle. Everything else that we stress about, we were told was good or bad, was high or low. You know, let's say there's something going on with your mental health. Let's say there's something going on with you that is really hard for you to talk about. It's likely hard for you to talk about because you're scared about the perception, what other people will think. There's a really famous quote that says, all a man's problems stem from the inability to sit quietly in a room alone. All of our problems are interpersonal. They come from relationships. They come from different opinions. And that's not to say that you should start isolating yourself from the world, but it is to remind yourself to bring yourself back to center and to remember that every stress factor is man-made. Therefore, every stress factor is figure-outable. Esther tells me that all the time. If you know me, you know who Esther is. Esther tells me that all the time. Everything is figure-outable, and once you remember that all of the stress factors, everything you're trying to figure out is man-made, you'll be able to get yourself into a high enough emotional state to think clearly and to figure it out. That's it. That's my method to assume your way out of a funk. I personally, whenever I have a new affirmation or I have a new mantra, I write it down, I screenshot it, and I put it on my phone until it sticks. It is a fact. The subconscious mind learns through repetition. I hope this helped you. Like I said, I was in a funk, so I was going through it. You could probably hear it. I have I'm getting over a cold, so you could probably hear it. I'm a little congested and it's all humid today, so this side ain't got no more curls left, but we're gonna make it work. Anyway, I'll try to get on camera more. I prefer doing voice because I'm a singer and my voice is the main way I communicate my feelings. I will try to get on camera more. I heard that's what all the cool kids on YouTube are doing. Breathe. Forgive yourself for literally everything. It's not that deep. I will talk to you soon.
If you like the song that's in the background, it is called I'm Okay from my latest project, Blackcurrant, which is available on all streaming platforms. I love you. Have a great week. I'm okay where I'm at.